Hi, everybody. Welcome to Platonic Talks. In this edition, I have Venkata Sreekar Patel, who scored All India rank 58 in the 2022 Indian Forest exam. So, from him, I would like to know his experience of clearing this exam, what this service entails, and one of the most asked question: how to clear prelims. Of course, the civils cutoff and also the Indian Forest Services cutoff. And I will also ask Shrika because the 2023 exam for the Indian Forest Services is very close. That how should the aspirants deal with two optionals? What should their strategy be? So, in this conversation, please follow along. We'll be asking a lot of questions. And before I, let's say, ask Shrikar, I'll just tell you that we started to prepare in 2016 together. We also gave interview in 2018 together, and we also gave the Indian Forest Services exam together. And Shrikar has been very kind enough to spare us time. So thank you so much, Shrikar, for taking out time.
Hello, Amrutansh.
Right. So, and I would like the audience would also like to know your journey of civil services and what motivated you to stay on the journey and let's say your resilience in that.
As you mentioned, I started my preparation in 2016 for civil service exam. So I have appeared for 2018 interview as well. But after that, I think the prelims pattern changed since 2019 onwards. So once I couldn't make it to civil services, and then I appeared for forest service exam in 2022, and this was my first attempt at the exam, and yeah, so I could clear the exam in one attempt, first attempt. That has been my
Great.
journey, and yeah, so um, in civil service, my options were, political science, but when we started with the forest service, the optionals were totally different. So I had not appeared for the forest service exam initially, but after
Right.
2021, because my motivation was always to be in the public service to help serve the society at large. So that kept me on the track during,
And to my audience, I would also like to tell that Shrikar also had joined the private sector and he was working. So, Shrikar, could you please also tell your educational background and your work experience as well so that the people get to know that because you cleared Indian Forest Services while working, which in
yes.
itself is a huge task.
Hmm. I had graduated from electronics and communication engineering, and before I started for the civil service preparation, I had worked in a startup till 2016. So once I couldn't make it to civil services. My last attempt was in 21. I joined back the private sector, and I was with Robert Bosch. So while working, I appeared for the forest service examination, and it was actually, as you mentioned, a little difficult to manage both work and preparation. But yeah, I understood that one can do it while working.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. And one more thing, Shrikar, because you've now joined the services, many students usually focus on, let's say, the Indian administrative services, the Indian police services, and sometimes they're not much aware about the Indian forest services. So, could you
Mhm.
please tell this audience that what kind of a service it is, or let's say, what are the powers and the functions, so that the people can also look at it from a career point of view?
So, Indian Forest Service is one of the prestigious All India services. The other two being Indian Administrative Service and Indian Police Service. Usually, I mean, people know about civil service exam and the uh, services that come along with that exam, like revenue service, administrative service, police service, accounts and audit. But forest service, as far as I understand, very few people know about it. But it is in itself a great service actually. Uh, once, through this service, actually, you are going to serve the most. Uh, I mean, one of the downtrodden, the tribals tribals and the forest dwellers, for whom the government services and schemes may not reach. So you have to, you have the opportunity to work for them, and
Right.
yes, and it actually there is a great debate now between environmental conservation and developmental issues. So this during this time, I believe Indian Forest Service is an excellent opportunity to work on the development as well and for the conservation of environment. The service also offers you, I mean, you are involved in dealing with the civilian population along with forest management as well as wildlife conservation. So this
Right.
service is in itself wide in its scope. You are with the
Right.
forest department and dealing with the environmental issues as well, environmental impact assessments. So yeah, one thing is that for this service only I think the science graduates are eligible.
Right.
That
Right.
one thing is there. So because of that, I believe very few people are also inclined towards this. Humanities usually go towards civil service preparation.
Correct.
That
Correct.
may be
Correct.
one factor. Yeah.
Correct. And I think also in the science, sometimes the students are not aware that you have separate attempts for both, like the six attempts for here
Yes.
for general candidates and six here also. So
Six.
maybe this
Yes.
can also be considered, especially for the people who are enthusiastic about environment conservation, climate change, and
Yes.
working closely with nature, right?
Right. Right, Amrita.
Yeah, so that was a, let's say, we got to know good insights about the Indian Forest Services.
Hmm.
So, Shrikar, right now, the exam for 2023 is hardly 45 to 50 days away. Okay.
Yes.
And most of the people have just done, let's say, or just have covered the civil services mains.
Mm-hmm.
So, from this point to the next point in, let's say, 40, 45 days, how should they cover the two optionals? Like your optional was forestry and
Mm-hmm.
geology. So
Yeah.
one by one, firstly, I would like, and by the way, you have scored very good marks in both your optionals, more than 200 in both, right?
Correct.
Almost right. So I wanted to ask from you, firstly, how should one tackle geology? Number one. Second,
Mm-hmm.
how to tackle forestry. And you can tell your
Yeah.
sources, how you prepared,
Mm-hmm.
and how can one economize on time because you also were a working candidate, right? So you had very
Yes.
limited
Yes.
time available. So could you please elaborate more on that?
Right, Amrita. So my first focus during preparation was forestry actually, but I believe that geology should have been begun first. And in my opinion, geology was more interesting from personal point of view, and the syllabus is also very huge for geology. So I would actually suggest candidates who are preparing for the forest service, from my experience, to start with geology first. I kept my sources very limited. So K.M. Bangar was my only book. I mean, that was one of the book. And then for paleontology and stratigraphy, uh, I didn't find. There was one more book called Mukherjee, so I bought it. I don't remember the name, so it was Mukherjee, blue color book. But uh, it didn't help me much. So I started searching for other sources, and I came across IGNOU material uh,
Okay.
for the e-Gyan Kosh portal. So uh, stratigraphy and paleontology I did from the IGNOU material. Uh, so for the geology purpose, I would suggest that the syllabus is very huge, but it is very straightforward as well. And once you start with the preparation, you can actually start understanding things. It is very technical in itself. You have to mug up a lot of things, but once you stay focused on the subject, it is going to reward you in many ways. So when I did two readings of geology and two readings of forestry. So the first reading for geology took me 20 days, around 20 days, and second reading I could do it in 10 to 11 days. But I had to towards when my exam approached, I actually took leave, a long
Okay.
leave for my exam, around 15 to 20 days. So, but after and because it was COVID time, we could do work from home as well. So I saved a lot on my traveling time from
Correct.
office. It used to take me 1.5 hour one way. So there I
Right.
could get 3 hours, and evening I could. I used to start from around 5 till night in the 12. So it actually helped me. I cut down on my dinner time and everything. Uh, so once you start with geology, just stay focused on the subject. I would like to get into the geology part. Just a minute. Give me a minute. So once you start with geology, the paper one is actually very easy in a sense. So you have general geology, geomorphology, structural geology. So these can be covered from K.M. Bangar as well as from the from the internet. So for geomorphology and remote sensing, I relied mostly on the internet part. But
Right.
structural geology and general geology I did from KM Bangar, and it is very concisely given in the book.
Okay.
So once you follow the syllabus points and I mean, I didn't have time to make notes, but I underlined the important important paragraphs or marked the important topics, and I stuck to it. So that actually helped.
Right.
Internet will help you in these abstract topics like geomorphology and remote sensing. In fact, geomorphology I had missed entirely during my preparation, and in the morning before the exam, I studied from the internet, and I could uh, I mean I could attempt it in the examination. So it's very easy if you go. I mean, internet sources have provided concise materials. For the this is section A. In section B,
Right.
you have paleontology, stratigraphy, hydrogeology, and engineering geology. So in this part is actually a little difficult. Hydrogeology and engineering geology, you can do it from KM Bangar. It's again with nice diagrams they have given in the material. But stratigraphy and paleontology, you will have to follow IGNU material or from eGyanKosh. So it's very concise, and questions are actually asked from that those materials. Like for the paleontology, you had questions on trilobites, and for stratigraphy, you had questions on Kumau Gadwal, and there was one more question. So it directly came uh, from the IGNU material. But if you
Right.
follow this in KM Bangar, it's actually difficult. So similarly for paper two as well, you have again paper one is easy. Paper two section A is easy. You have mineralogy, igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary rocks. So this can be covered again from KM Bangar. So
Right.
you have to stay. I mean, you have to stay with the KM Bangar. It will help you in lot many ways. And again, section B, economic geology, mining geology, geochemistry, and environmental geology. I had to follow internet materials here. But
I,
yeah, you have to be very specific about which part you are reading regarding this because the literature is too much on these things. So just stick
right.
to it, and geology will actually reward you in many ways.
Great. So, Shrikar,
Yes,
actually, the 2022 paper for a lot of aspirants was very difficult. Okay, so
yes,
they could
agreed.
not score, let's say, good marks. Second, your
Mhm.
approach is different in the sense you actually followed proper book, IGNO
Yes,
material,
yes.
and let's say KM Banga. You, let's say, did not resort to videos or let's say some courses, etc. Right? So,
Mhm.
where do you think, let's say, how was that making a difference? Number one. And second, like, how, let's say, when did you find time to revise a lot of the portions which have to be crammed? Let's say you read twice, okay, so you had
Mhm.
reading of twice, okay, so how did you make that change? Because you've scored more than 200 marks in geology.
No, I think I scored 199 actually.
Okay.
Paper one, yeah, yeah. So 101 and 98. So
Right.
actually, uh, I would appreciate myself in this regard that I made a quick decision. I believed that if I took courses, they have to teach on online, and then I have to again read it from the material. Instead, I decided that I will directly read from the book sources and prepare myself. I actually made notes for stratigraphy, paleontology, some part of igneous rocks, and environmental
Right.
geology actually. So
Right.
I used to read it once, and during second reading, I used to make notes. So
Right.
I stuck to my plan. I stuck to my plan that I will follow the book because if you are understanding from the book directly, it helps you because you are already simplifying it in your mind once while you are reading. So that actually helped me, and I made
Great.
my own notes, so it was easy for me to understand at the last minute. I I did not even follow the topper materials. I actually took them, but they are written in their understanding. So you cannot
Right.
just read them at the last moment and I mean, appear for the exam. It's actually a
Right.
risky method that I followed the book. It took me a lot of time, 30 to 32 days, I think. So, but if one has time and they are understanding from the sources, from the book, then it will help you. That's
Right.
what I would
Great.
prefer. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. And I think this strategy also got rewarded because you got very good marks.
Yeah.
Now coming to the second optional which you had, which was forestry. Okay.
Yes.
So you said that you started your preparation with forestry.
Hmm.
So again, what all did you follow and what actually helped you to get very good marks in forestry? And then we moved to English and the general knowledge part of mains
Sure.
exam. Yeah.
Sure, Amritansh. Again, like I said, for forestry as well, I decided that I will not follow any online courses or the materials that are available, because I believe that I will understand from the book in a much better way. So I
Right.
stuck to a single source there, Manikandan and Prabhu, and that actually helped me. I think most of it is covered in the book, Manikandan and Prabhu. So if
Right.
you just follow the syllabus and stick to the book, I think it's going to reward again. But I understand that many other toppers who have cleared this time, they have followed different strategies, so that may also help them. But this actually helped me uh, in a way,
Sure.
because while I was I was doing my preparation from the book, I again made notes here as well. Silviculture system. Then there
Right.
was one more important chapter which I made notes of. Just a minute. Tree improvement and seed technology.
Right.
So these chapters are actually uh, uh, very big in themselves. So if you make notes on these topics, they are going to help you in the last month. And
Okay. Great.
it personally helped me. So I would suggest that.
Right. Now, coming to the presentation part of it, like in geology and forestry, did you draw diagrams? Let's say, how did you differentiate your answer?
Yes, for the forestry paper, I actually made a lot of diagrams, and I used color pencils there. And the presentation wise, I kept my language very simple. What they used to ask, I answered them pointedly. But where the questions appeared very simple, I made sure that I gave the background to the question. I answered the question and concluded it. So
Sorry.
you can actually do it this way, where the questions are simple. Just answer the background so that the examiner knows that you have sufficient knowledge of the topic being asked, and answer the question. That is going to help. And another thing that actually might have helped me is avoided striking on the answer sheet. I kept it clean, and I maintained the spaces between the lines, so that could have helped.
Great, great, great. So I think
Another thing
that,
that I would
yeah,
like to
yeah, please,
ask for
please, please go
forestry
on.
is, don't if you have time, then definitely make the notes, and notes are going to help you. It should be self-made notes, and they are going to help you.
In terms of pages, like how long or let's say how elaborate were your notes? Because the people are very short on time. In fact,
Yes,
you
yes,
were also
correct.
short on
So
time.
yes, yes. So
Yeah,
I would like, if the suppose if it was silviculture, so here I just made a diagram of vegetative propagation.
right,
I There are a few techniques. In silviculture, I'm unable to recall. So if it
right,
is like budding, grafting, vegetative propagation, they are under a particular head. So I wrote the heading and the like the mind maps. So I
right.
made them, and then the diagrams next to them. So as soon as I used to look at my topic, so at one go, I used to have a good idea that okay, this is the topic under this, and these are the subparts, and this is the diagram that I will have to draw.
I
If it
see.
was about the silviculture system, so under silviculture system, there is clear felling, uniform felling, I believe. So under them, again, I used to make subheadings and the diagrams that used to come, and then again advantages, disadvantages, the keywords. So as soon as I used to open the page, I used to understand, okay, this is the topic, this will come, and then elaborate your answer, what you have understood. So that is going to help you.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent,
And
excellent.
this is again the same with geology. Uh,
Mhm.
I used to make the diagram for the fossil. I used to label their parts and in which era they were found. And yeah, that helped.
Okay, that's excellent. Okay,
Yes.
because I think that would help and definitely helps you score good marks.
Yeah.
So I think we are done with the two optionals. Now,
Mhm.
also two very important components because scoring high marks is essential. One is general knowledge and one is English. Okay, so
Yes.
could you also tell us about what was your strategy for both? How much time you allocated for English and let's say general knowledge?
So as I already told, after 2021, I had started working, so I had lost touch with GK and English as well. So when I had written my mains last in 2018, English again is qualifying there. So it was not much of a burden. But here it is scoring. So I mean, made up my mind that I will score around 290 for English and general knowledge. But I was surprised. It was surprising to me as well. I scored 316 there. So in English, what I did was essay. I mean, I continued reading editorials during my if any break was there during my work hours. So I used to read one or two editorials on environment or any other issue that was going on at the time. I believe uh, Ukraine-Russia war had started and how it was impacting supply chain, the economic problems, or the environmental issues had also come. I believe there was some COP coming up of UNFCCC. So
Right,
how India is going to tackle all those. So I kept myself updated. So essay I took care through this. I mean, by keeping myself updated. Comprehension is very simple in English. You have to answer what they are asking directly from the uh, literature that they have given. There is no innovation here. But I practiced a lot regarding letter writing, report writing, because I can't recall how much marks they carry, but just give
Mhm.
me a time. I think, yeah, so both of them carry 50 marks, 25 marks each. So I made
Right,
sure that I am I mean, I know the format correctly because I believe there are some marks for the format as well. So, and I elaborated on the issue that is being asked in
right,
the letter writing and make sure that any question that you're asking you are asked in English, your grammar is right because more than presentation, I believe they are going to check your grammar there. So
right,
uh, if you make sure your grammar is right, there, I mean, it's going to be rewarding. Report as well. I practiced. I mean, to be frank, I practice letter writing every day. Whenever I used to feel I'm free, listen to songs or I mean, go watch a match or watch TV. I used to keep my English rough book next to me, and there was last 6 7 years question paper next to me, and I used to write a letter in those 15 to 20 minutes. So I made sure I have written around 10 15 letters before I wrote
right,
I appeared in the exam. Same with report. Once I was sure that my letter is good, I'm okay with the format and the way I'm presenting my issue. I started with report writing. Again, I have written 10 to 12 reports. Same. To be frank, I have not seen sunset or sunrise during I mean, those 50 55 days of preparation. So whenever I used to think, okay, I'm free now, I will do this. I used to take some other subject and start preparing. So I used to write report. Once I was done with report and letter, I started with my grammar there. So grammar, I had purchased. I can't recall the book's name. I think it is from Arihant Publications. So
okay,
again, when I used to get, I used to think, okay, let me take a break. I used to take a chapter on adjectives, pronouns, or nouns, read the rules, and solve the questions then and there.
right,
Whether it was with correcting the errors in the sentence, or what is the noun form, what is the adjective form of the given word, I used to practice. So I believe that actually helped me. Proverbs, I did not. I mean, I had seen few. There are many proverbs, but I don't know what they. I mean, asking five out of so many proverbs is just random. So I just
Hmm.
kept my mind cool and tried to understand the meaning and answered then and there. But I would suggest that you go through, I mean, one goes through the proverb list of proverbs, what they're asking in the last 10, 12 years, and then be ready
Right.
with those. Yeah. So that way, and again, comprehension, it's the same. Just answer it according to the, I mean, whatever is there in the literature with no innovation. I think it's going to reward you. I didn't expect I mean, to score 164 in in the English exam. I was
Right.
expecting around 140, 150. So
Right. But
somewhere it
then, of
has helped.
course,
Yes, yes.
you were definitely rewarded by this practice, so that really helped, right?
Hmm.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And how did you, let's say, brush up on general knowledge? If you could just give, apart from, let's say, newspapers and editorials.
Hmm. So for general knowledge as well, before I used to start my optional for the day, I kept week wise. First 3 days, I used to keep only the history questions. They ask you in blocks,
Hmm.
actually.
Right. Yeah.
History is with, I mean, ancient, medieval, art and culture, and modern. So I used to take three questions, say 2014, 15, 16, write those three questions that morning, and
Okay.
with a time limit. I
Hmm.
don't remember, I think 3 hours, you have six questions.
Yeah,
So
24 questions in 3 hours.
yeah,
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 correct.
24 questions. So I used to keep a time limit, and my my focus was on that every question that I'm writing, I just reduce the time taken by 30 seconds. That's all, nothing more.
Hmm.
And I mean, in contingency, if suppose if I get a question that is actually very difficult, so that 30-second would actually help me in another question. So I
Right.
practiced with this mindset that every question, suppose I'm taking 7 minutes, I used to complete it within 6 minutes, 30 seconds. So those
Okay.
30 seconds used to add up and it used to help me somewhere.
Hmm.
So then I used to take block wise, I used to take environmental questions, say again 2014, 15, 16, and write them
Hmm.
in one go. Once I was done with history, I used to take polity, I used to take economics. So I made sure that I did not keep anything cascaded. That once
Right.
I finish my optionals, I'm going to start with GK preparation. I used to keep it that okay, morning block was for general knowledge questions. Then I used to
Yeah.
prepare my optionals. When I used to get bored, again write English and then again take optional. So that actually helped me to overcome this disadvantage that I had because I had lost touch with
Yeah.
English and GK. So yeah, that way it helped. And that was I think good score that year, 154 or 152 I have scored.
Yeah, that was a, yeah, it was a
Yes, yes.
pretty good score.
So
Yeah.
it was above average. So one can
Hmm.
actually save a lot of time because uh, this is one of the All India services and UPSC, any exam is difficult. But if you strategize your time and use it wisely, you will be rewarded for sure.
Great. Great.
This is how I did my English and GK preparation along with optionals. I did not keep optionals and English
Yeah.
and GK after my optionals were done. So
Yeah.
candidate,
So,
for
yeah, that is
candidates who
something
are
I think
appearing this time,
they can take a lesson from
can
this.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, they can keep this in mind. And for GK, because the questions are of technical nature, the exam is of technical nature. Apart from history, most of the questions like science and technology or polity as well, then geography, environment. If you give your conclusions in a technical sense, uh, uh, again, give me a minute. There was a question this time in GK. I'm sure that many would have done the same, but I just want to emphasize on it for benefit of others. There was a question regarding floods in urban areas, I believe.
Right.
So if you present that, not floods, I believe the depletion of groundwater. So
Right.
if you tell them, if you write, you can, go towards the idea of spawn cities.
Hmm.
So the examiner will actually take this idea. Okay, this
Hmm.
candidate knows these things.
Hmm.
He will give you that extra 1 mark, half mark, which is going to actually help you. Depletion response cities because if the water seeps through ground, the groundwater will get recharged, aquifers will get recharged. And similarly, there was PLI question this time. So
Yeah.
if you are going to answer a lot many things on the manufacturing, semiconductor, and the automobiles that the government is taking up, that is again you are going to get that extra mark, 1 mark or half mark, and they will actually help you in aggregate. Similarly, I
Right.
think they had asked about the non-timber forest products, geographical
Right.
indication. So here, if you are going to present a conclusion or show that how technology can be used, you will be rewarded here. So I mean that also has helped me. But these were like innovations at the last moment that I made.
Right.
Yeah. So but
That's wonderful.
I
That's
I
wonderful.
would
Yeah.
actually suggest candidates to focus more on optionals because geology optional, especially for 2022, was very difficult. There was sea change in the nature of the questions that they have asked. So just keep your cool and whatever they are asking, you may not answer it to the point, but answer it tangentially.
Right.
Again, I want to give an example here. The first question this time was that distinguish between Pratt, Airy, and Benning isostasy models. So in the book it is only about Pratt and Airy model on isostasy. So if you are going to answer it uh, by not worrying about the Wenning isostasy model, then they are going to reward you. uh, then there was erosional features, and there was a question that how parasitic folds are used in interpreting large scale folding. So the book that I followed for geology, KM Bangar, it doesn't have a I mean, no points are mentioned about the parasitic folds. But if you are going to explain the concept of folds and then understand what parasites are usually the host. I mean,
Right.
sorry, parasites are, I mean, they live on the
They
host.
take out on the host. Yeah.
Yes. So that means parasitic
Sorry.
folds are on the main folds. So you just make a diagram. I made a diagram out of my imagination. It was close, but it was not exactly the right one. And you write an answer that is closer to it in your
Right.
understanding. So it is going to help you. There were many actually questions that were bouncers this time in geology. Uh, Again, like in paper one, they have asked about porphyroblasts, post crystallization deformation. This is usually a topic in paper two,
Hmm.
from paper to section A. So you are going to get surprised. But if you keep your cool and understand what porphyroblasts are, and write something about it, then what is crystallization and what types of crystals are there, then it is going to help you. These questions are actually the ones that will make the difference. Other questions are straightforward, but few questions are bouncers, and if you keep your cool and answer close, I mean, answer in a way that you know the things but you don't know the exact concept, then examiner will consider your answer, and he might mark you way better than others have answered. And
Right.
I mean, this was my first attempt, but when I was in the examination hall, I believe most candidates wouldn't have prepared geology so well. So many had given up. Some were writing, some were
Right.
like they were. I mean, yeah, they were head downs. So if you look around and then and just motivate yourself that okay, when others are sleeping, just let me write some more answers that I know. You are going to make it through. You have to just keep your mind cool in those 3 hours. You have, I
Right.
mean,
And yeah,
candidates are
absolutely.
very little time. Geology is forestry. Again, it took me less time because, as I said, I have not seen sunset sunrise during my preparation
Yeah.
for forest services. Uh,
Right.
I believed that this is my chance to get into the public service. So that was my motivation. I stuck to it. So I mean, I studied from I think 13, 14 hours per day, excluding all the breaks, sleep, everything. So I could do it. Forestry is actually easier. Geology
Right.
was personally I felt it to be interesting, but uh, it's too large a subject to be
Sure.
completed
I
in 30,
understand.
35 days. But just understand what is given in the book and keep reading, keep reading. the candidate will make it through.
And again, I think it shows a lot of mental fortitude as well, no? The desire to push oneself.
Yes,
Because
yes,
you are putting efforts, you are also struggling after some point of time. So everybody will struggle. So it's
yes, yes.
actually a relative competition then, right?
Yes, it's a relative competition. Candidates just have to keep doing it till the last moment. The other thing that helped me was, to be frank, in forestry, the main chapters are forest mensuration, and I think
Right,
there was one more silviculture system. In paper A silviculture, paper one silviculture system, and paper two forest mensuration. Both are like basics, and I have
right,
not read both the chapters, but
right.
I managed it with the other chapters.
Sure, absolutely.
So like
Yeah.
paper one, paper two, I had prepared less, but till the last moment, I think exam was from 2:30 to 5:30. Paper one, I had prepared it already. I think we had 1 day gap, so I studied from after geology paper. I actually didn't study much. I took a break, but the next morning I started, and till night 1:30 I continued studying paper one. And
Okay.
I woke up in the morning around 4:30, and I started my paper two preparation. My paper two was not well prepared. I actually answered for 162 marks out
Hmm.
of 200,
Okay.
but I
Right.
scored 93 there. Whatever I knew, I answered it perfectly. And from the marking, I believe if they are giving you 50% or something, but I scored beyond that.
Right.
So,
Right.
yes. So, keep reading till the last moment. That is a key to this examination. You are not going to complete the syllabus at all, but
Right.
whatever you know, just keep it strong.
Right.
And similarly in geology, stratigraphy is an important chapter, but I could do one reading of
Hmm.
stratigraphy, but I couldn't read it again. So
Hmm.
that's a loss. That was a loss for me. Again, in geology paper two, I wrote for 169 marks. I got 101. Whereas in paper one, I had written for 200 marks, but I got 99, 98 there.
Okay. Okay.
So
Right.
paper two was geology itself was difficult this time.
Hmm. No,
Biology
absolutely
itself was
correct. Right.
difficult. So, but paper two, I made a lot of diagrams there. Whatever I knew, I wrote. I stuck to a single source. I read it till the last moment. Most of the questions that I read before the exam, they appeared in the examination. I mean, before 9:30. I mean, 9:10 you have to be in the exam hall. So from
Right.
morning till 9:10, whatever I read, most of them came in the paper. I mean, they were asked in the paper. So in a way, it was luck, but keep doing it till the last. Don't give up.
Right.
Don't give up. If you think you have just 15 days and so many chapters that you have to complete, even if, I mean, 15 minutes are remaining before the exam, keep doing it till 9:09. Stand at the gate, keep reading, and then rush in to your classroom. No problem. You can go in a minute, but keep reading till the last minute. It's going to help you. Nobody has time.
Definitely.
Nobody has time, but it's just that you take out time, read important things. Once you read the chapters with a focused mind, you are going to understand what they are going to ask, and just keep reading them. You are going to get rewarded. That's my suggestion for the candidates. Last 40-45 days, they can do it.
Sure.
Yes.
Right. And I think this should definitely act as a big dose of motivation for all the
Hmm.
students. Okay.
Yes.
So now I want to break away into one or two other topics which I want to ask from
Okay.
you. One would be, of course, that after one is done with mains,
Hmm.
okay, so how should one prepare for, let's say, the Indian Forest interview? If you could briefly
Okay.
shed light on that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So we actually expected our interview. I mean, results came in December 2022. We were expecting interview somewhere in January, February. But to our surprise, I mean, the dates never came. They were in June. So, I mean, I was working with another firm after Robert Bosch. So, uh, traveling was an issue. Work from home had come to an end. So, I kept myself updated with the current happenings. But when it comes to forest service, I mean, focus on your DAF. That is most important. I mean, I resided in multiple states, Andhra Pradesh,
Right.
West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka. So I had prepared everything related to forest in these states, but most importantly related to Karnataka.
Mhm.
Okay, so state bird, forest cover,
Right.
what kind of, I mean, what type of forest management they are following, which trees
Right.
are grown, what are the climatic conditions, uh, like when it if it comes to sandalwood, Western Ghat issue for Karnataka. There are two reports, Gadgil Committee and Kasturi Rangan Committee. So which is better? What they have
Right.
suggested. Uh, River water issues. Okay, so I think 50 years. I mean, Bandipur completed 50 years of, I mean, establishment of Tiger Reserve.
Yeah.
So they were all
Correct.
important. So I had prepared on this, but personally, I felt interview can change anytime. It's very subjective. You may score
Right.
well, you may not score well. So I scored 180 and I wasn't happy with the score
Right.
because I felt I could have scored more. The kind of preparation I had
Right.
uh, given into this.
Right.
So, but so don't rely much on interview. Keep your mains strong. You have to score well in mains. And if you get a good score in interview, that's a bonus. But I had prepared myself for worst of scenario. So I focused on mains, but yeah, I scored very less in interview, 180. So I may not be the right person to comment on it, but I would suggest that everything that falls in the environmental domain of your state, prepare it, keep ready, but be ready for the bouncers. But because nowhere I had mentioned about bird watching as my hobby, but most
Mhm.
of the questions were about bird sanctuary, the kind of birds,
Okay.
where do the birds migrate from into Karnataka, or because I was born in Andhra Pradesh, Anantapur. Uh, but they asked me till the tip of Andhra Pradesh that borders Odisha. So
Right.
Andhra Pradesh in itself is a different state. So I didn't expect I didn't expect much questions on it, but most of the questions were on bird watching. I don't know why. But it is tricky. Interview
Right.
is
I see.
tricky. It depends on the panel, but
Mhm.
focus on mains. That's you can score if you score very well here. Whatever happens in interview, you are going to get through.
Great. Excellent.
Yes,
Excellent.
yes.
That's also good advice that people can
Hmm.
also follow. Okay.
But I would suggest that if you are a working candidate,
Yeah.
so whatever you are working on, how how it is going to help the environment. Be sure with the government policies about in the environmental domain, e-vehicles, how introduction policy on e-vehicles is going to reduce the carbon emissions of India, and what the government is doing, what the civil society is doing in protecting the environment, conserving the wildlife. So
Right.
have a broader idea and keep preparing for it. Just be updated. That is my suggestion.
Great. Great. Now, Shrikar, actually, a lot of students want to see this section of the video now because
Okay.
I would be asking your prelims strategy. And so
Okay.
not just the students who are aspiring for civil services, but many also for the Indian Forest Services.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
And of late, the prelims has certainly become tricky. So candidates do look up to somebody who has cleared the
Hmm,
civils cutoff. And of course, if you've already cleared the forest cutoff.
hmm,
Okay.
hmm, hmm.
So one, let's say, keeping in view the changing nature of prelims, what would
Yes.
your advice be to, let's say, somebody who is stuck in low scores in the exam? Okay.
Hmm, hmm,
So
hmm.
how can somebody boost their scores? Okay. And again, somebody who's aspiring for the forest services, how
Hmm,
can they
hmm.
clear the UPSC prelims?
Okay. So again, as I said, 2021, my preparation ended and I was working with the private sector. So I had no time preparing for the prelims. But I appeared for this, and the only thing that I understood was in prelims, you have to keep your mind cool. The answers are right in front of you. You have to just understand what can be the possible answer to this question. And Not ponder too much on the question then and there. Read it once, read it twice, whatever strikes you, mark it. Because uh, after 30-35 questions, the remaining 65 to 70 questions, most of them don't know. But if you keep
Hmm.
your mind calm and if you keep your mind calm and understand what is being asked, in what context it might have been asked, then you are going to mark it correctly. Uh, I always cleared my civil service prelims till 2019 at a margin by 2-3 marks, and I had no hope. I mean, I did not expect that I will clear forest service prelims by a huge margin. I think cutoff was 108. I scored 126 there. It was my
Hmm.
highest score ever, and because before the results came this year, prelims was conducted May 28th. Our results came on July 1.
Right,
And after 2021, I have not opened any of my books uh, for prelims,
right,
any modern India, polity, nothing.
right.
Because in a way, memory helped me, and I had kept myself updated with the newspaper. So I again told I knew that I will get a rank in 2022, but I appeared for 2023 prelims as well. Uh, I just told my parents that 2022 is not an exception. I'm going to this exam just to show that I can clear forest service prelims again. I failed in
Right,
CSAT this time, but I scored
right.
103 again. In
Okay,
uh,
yeah.
yeah,
That
so
is,
one
of
of my
course, the
friend who
we,
scored
we
90,
yeah,
92 or 94, 94, he's writing mains this time.
right.
Cutoff was less. So I understood that in 19, 20, 21, after 19, there is a huge change in the pattern. CSAT is becoming difficult. Questions are dicey. They are
Right.
bouncers. So in 19, 20, 21, I used to play at the margin, answer 75 to 80 questions. So I
Right.
answered this time, I mean, 2022, I answered 99 questions. And
Okay.
the 100th question was Bidi Bidi tribe, about Bidi Bidi
Yeah.
tribe.
Yeah.
Bidi Bidi in
Right.
Kannada means leave it. So I left that question alone. So 99 there and 90, 96 this time. So in a
Okay.
way, the questions are going to reward you. Uh, I mean, ponder too much on the questions.
Initially.
Civil service prelims, during my
Yeah.
civil service
Yeah.
prelims. That is why my
Right.
attempts were also 75, 77 questions. But
Okay.
for forest service, I used to think once, at max twice, whatever was the answer, I used to mark it.
Okay.
I didn't think too much. So that also helped me. And third was I kind of, uh, because there is an urge to clear the exam, not fail in prelims. So I think that pressure was there on the mind after
Hmm.
19 in 2020 and 21. So that may have been a huge factor in not clearing prelims those 2 years. Cutoffs were 84 and 87, I believe, or 87, 89. But I couldn't clear. But other two, while working, I did not even read a single page per prelims. I only read newspaper. It is a risky strategy. This was because, in a way, this was my majburi. I had to work, so I had
Yeah.
no time preparing.
Correct. Correct.
So
I
this
see.
worked for me, but I kept my mind calm. I had nothing to lose. Civils
Hmm.
attempts were over. I was in the private sector. Forestry I
Hmm.
wanted to get in. So I had
Hmm.
nothing to lose. I kept myself calm. I answered the questions with a calm mind and I could clear the exam.
And also
But
because you were in the private sector, and I think this
hmm,
also is important. Like after some years, if somebody also has a, let's say, fallback option, if they have a
hmm,
job,
hmm,
the fear of failure reduces a lot, and their
reduces a
performance
lot.
considered it's far better.
Hmm.
That is true.
Another thing
Very
was,
true.
I believe, because I was not keeping myself under pressure
Hmm.
and past preparation, whatever I had read, Lakshmikant or Spectrum or ancient history, anything, I think they were there in the mind.
Right.
Sometimes we do not believe ourselves that we remember these topics, but I remembered everything. In fact, economics used to be make or break questions for me in the prelims, for civil
Right.
service prelims. But in 2022 and 2023, I think I have not made a single mistake, or at max one or two questions, economics were wrong.
Oh
So,
wow. Right.
yes. So, if you think calmly, there is answer right in front of you, you will answer. But as I said, 2023, I failed CSAT. I think I scored 63 or 61, I believe, according to the keys. So one must be very sure of
But
CSAT
again,
now.
God had good bigger plans for you. You
Mm-hmm.
had to get a rank in 2022, which would not
Yeah.
mean that you have to get 2023 attempt. Yeah.
Hmm. So thing was I had not prepared also, but CSAT is
Hmm.
becoming difficult over
Yeah,
the
true,
years.
absolutely. Correct, correct.
19 I cleared paper one, but I failed paper two. But after that, 2021, 2021, 22, I have not. I have performed very well in CSAT. I think in
Right.
2021 I attempted 41 questions, and I think 37 or 38 were right.
Okay, excellent.
So
Yeah.
yeah, if you do less number of questions, also
Hmm.
CSAT is going to reward you, but you have to be sure of the answers, or else you have to practice a lot for CSAT. And I mean the quants are also becoming very difficult by the years. So
Okay.
more than paper one, if you believe that you have given your everything in GS preparation, just keep it
Hmm.
aside and keep solving all those quants papers from various examinations, whether it is RBI, SSC, or previous UPSC papers. Keep solving them. Just make sure your CSAT is you are crossing 66.67, because
Right.
many people are failing there, and CSAT is deciding the cutoff now. CSAT
Correct,
cutoff
correct,
cannot be
correct.
reduced. It cannot be made 50, 45.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely. Right.
there is the uh, GS cutoff may come below 80 as well. You can't say.
Correct.
So keep your CSAT pakka. If luck favors you, even if you are scoring less in paper one, I mean prelims paper one,
Right.
I mean, you will be writing main. So don't worry about it. That is what I have understood. But major
Great.
factor is mental fortitude, like Amritansh mentioned. Keep
Hmm.
yourself calm in the examination hall. Everything is going to fall in place, whether it is in mains or whether it is in prelims.
Excellent,
That is
excellent,
my
excellent.
suggestion for the candidates, Amritansh.
Okay, great. So and I think I'll just ask you one last question. That, for
Mm-hmm.
example, you increase your number of questions from 75 to, let's say, 99.
Uh-huh.
Please pardon me, I have a sore throat.
Mm-hmm.
So in many cases, the students often complain that when they increase the number of attempts, they actually have more negatives.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say in your case, you increased your attempts. In fact, this also helped me as well clear the first
Mm-hmm.
cutoff. Also, that we used to attempt higher and we used to clear. But
Yes.
again, what works in your favor? Let's say, why do you get more questions correct if you attempt more?
Uh, I can't say it for sure, but if you are sure of concepts and you are calm and you are not pondering too much on the questions, then you are not going to answer it wrong. I will tell you an example. Uh, there was a question in 2021 about helicopter money.
Hmm.
So out of four options, two were eliminated, but there were two questions.
Hmm.
I knew the right one, but I read it three, four times and I marked the wrong one, though it was an easy question.
Right.
Similarly, in 2020 as well, there was a question, uh, but yeah, I again read it many times, multiple times. I answered it wrong. If you are going to answer it many times, the questions are and options are designed in a way to confuse you. If you read
Correct.
it once or twice and then answer, you are going to answer it well. Just be sure of the concepts. And if you are not reading a question multiple times, then you have sufficient time to answer more questions as well. So
Right.
I think in 2021, three questions were on sports. If
Right. Correct.
one kept himself cool,
Hmm.
I think two questions could have been answered that year among the
Right.
three on sports.
Right. Right.
So just read it twice at max. Go to the next question. Don't miss out on any question. The question that you are thinking is lengthy or it may be difficult. The options may be very easy. So don't waste
Correct.
your time reading the questions or the questions on topics that you know. There may be
Hmm.
questions on topics that you don't know, but options are very easy and you are going to get 2 marks there. So every
Correct.
two
That's also a
marks
fair point.
counts. Yes.
Correct. And before we end the session, Shrika, so at least what would you finally advise the aspirants, perhaps in 1 or 2 lines, those who are preparing and those who look up to, let's say, candidates like you? Any piece of parting advice that you want to share?
Uh, because the Forest Service mains are coming near, I would suggest that if there are 5 days remaining, your syllabus is not over, don't freak out. Read it till the last 5 minutes. Because if you are reading with focused mind, you will know which topics you have to read, and you will read before you enter the examination hall, and those questions are going to come. Most of the questions repeat in Forest Service optionals, so don't worry. Keep your mind calm and think with a cool mind. Draw the diagrams wherever necessary, if possible, for all questions, because diagrams convey uh, more information than your entire paragraph may convey. Okay, so keep yourself calm and don't cascade your preparations. If you want to cascade it in a single day. Do GK, do your optional, do your English for half an hour, and just keep repeating. Everything will fall in place. And you all, I mean, whoever is preparing for the examination and appearing for the examination, because, and in a way, for actually nowadays, the number of candidates who are sitting for the exam is increasing year by year
Right.
since 2018, I believe. Those who are serious about the exam, they are going to clear this exam. So don't worry. Just keep reading. Don't lose your peace of mind. You are going to do well. And yes, one more thing is sleep well. Uh, my Before my forest paper, I had slept only for 3 hours, and I was very sleepy in the examination hall at for the paper two. There,
Okay.
I think I made in every paper I have. If I have to write a word, I was writing some other word.
Oh, I
So
see.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
had
can
to
happen.
cut
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so suppose I had to write sequence, I was writing consequence. Just an example. So I had to cut consequence and write sequence. So, but of course, it didn't matter. Might have not mattered. I scored good in paper. I was not expecting good score in paper two, but I think I have scored well there. Uh,
Right.
yeah. I was expecting somewhere in 70s and 80s. I got 93, so it helped.
Mhm.
But sleep well, prepare well, keep reading the important topics, write examples, and for forestry, be sure of the scientific names of the trees and mention it wherever possible. For geology, know the metamorphic, igneous, and the metamorphic, igneous, and sedimentary rocks.
Right.
Then in geology as well, be sure of the diagrams. They are going to help you a lot. That is my piece of advice for the candidates.
Great. 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 So thank you, Shrika. Thanks a lot for sparing your time and speaking to us and at least guiding the aspirants. I am sure they would get a lot of benefit out of it. Okay. And I really wish you all the best for your future endeavors and in serving the nation. Okay. So thank you so much for speaking to me.
Thank you, Amritansh. Same here.